So, Kenny, what you been doing?
Not a whole lot, just staying active, going to the gym. Like always, I go to the 24-hour fitness as well as going to either Top Rank or Mayweather's or somebody's
I'm
gym.
glad about that. But other than that, I just been really getting ready to hang out with you again,
Yes, sir.
right here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
On the official call.
On the official call.
So yeah, Byrd, this Boots Ennis,
Philly guy.
Philly guy. Yeah, I just did a little research, and this kid is got a full package behind him.
Yeah, I watched that fight too, and I agree with you. When I watched the fight, basically what I saw, there's only 2 rounds in the fight to me that were competitive. The first round and the fifth round. But after that, I agree with you. Boots is the full package.
He's got the full package, and I thought the early rounds were pretty even, but what impressed me about Boots is that he had a good jab, he had good footwork, he had good ring generalship, his ability to get in and get out, and I'm just looking and I'm saying, what is there left? And his opponent was not a bad opponent. Stanionis had skills.
WBA champ.
WBA champ, both of them undefeated. He had kind of the peekaboo style, but he's coming forward all the time, threw a good left hook. I thought that he looked pretty good, but you could just, like you said, you could start seeing him wear down. And in the later to mid rounds, you could see it starting to happen where.
Well, what I noticed right from the beginning, I said, Stanionis. I said, when they were doing the weigh-in, and I thought Stanionis looked a little plump around the middle to me. And then when the fight started, it really registered to me because Boots, from the very beginning, started punching to the body. He was shooting them body shots.
Yes.
And he was, he reminded me of another young man by the name of Terrence Crawford. And this kid's footwork, what he used to get himself in the position to throw his punches, which is so important.
Yes.
Okay. He was throwing combinations.
Yes.
He was working on that body. Right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And he never stopped.
And he never
working
stopped.
on that body and throwing punches in combination and I just think that he really, what's the word I'm looking for, is he outclassed Stanionis.
Yeah.
Stanionis wasn't a bad fighter.
Stanionis was not a bad fighter.
I think he outclassed him. And the thing that I really liked about this fight is that his corner evidently saw the same thing that we saw.
Yeah.
That he was being outclassed. He was being outboxed. He was getting hit with some heavy punches, solid punches. And they made the decision to stop the fight.
Right.
And that, you don't see that often,
right.
But it's a wonderful thing when you do see it, that the corner has, because they know their fighter better than anyone. but the corner had enough compassion to say, you know what, this is not your night.
And you're right, because Stanionis, I mean, he's a warrior. They'll want to continue to keep fighting, but the cornerman has to be wise enough to know that if their fighter has taken too many shots, then just stop it.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that impressed me about Boots is he came with the southpaw stance. I don't know if that may have been to his advantage as opposed to Stanionis trying to defend it, but Boots was able to just do whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the bottom line.
I mean, he just flat out classed him.
Yes.
Like I said, I only saw 2 rounds of the fight that were competitive, the first round, the 5th round. But after that, it was all Boots.
Yeah.
It was all Boots.
Yeah. Well.
Now, I've already told you that this kid, Boots, reminds me of someone by the name of Crawford.
Right.
And there's some rumors out there that they're trying to get Boots and Crawford together in a fight. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But, like I said, Boots, to me, is the mirror image of Crawford, because both of them fight both orthodox and southpaw.
Yep.
Okay. Both of them use excellent. They make excellent use of the ring. Both of them are very accurate, powerful punches.
Yes.
They know how to, use their feet to put themselves in position to fight.
Yes.
To deliver their punches. So I think it would be the heck of a fight.
Which makes me remember when Sugar Ray Leonard fought Wilfred Benitez, which was
his first title fight, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And it was a rock'em sock'em fight. I believe Carlos Padilla was the referee.
Yeah.
And Sugar Ray Leonard said in the dressing room, it was like fighting a mirror image of myself.
Yeah.
That's what Boots and Bud Crawford, that's what that fight could be like.
Yeah.
Could be like.
I agree.
Because their skills, like you said, are dead on. The question that's always asked is, who you think gonna win the fight?
Well, frankly, in that fight, because I see so many similarities. But the one thing that I saw with Ennis, and the one thing that the announcers were talking about, is that he gets clipped sometimes. And I think when you put that together, I've never really seen Terrence take some really hard shots. So if you put them together, given everything that's even, I think Terrence probably wins that fight.
Yeah, and you made a very key point, and that is we've had the privilege of watching Crawford through his career.
Yeah.
And there may have been a fighter or two that might have gave him a little difficulty, but he's never took any punishment.
Right.
We've never seen him down.
Right.
We've never even seen him get hurt to the point that he had to, shake it off and rally back. He's basically always been in control.
Yeah.
Even his biggest fight, which was a year and a half ago when he fought Earl Spence.
Earl Spence.
When he fought Earl Spence.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bud's got the experience. He's got the know-how. He's been in the big moment, and you got to lean toward Bud.
Yeah, I definitely would, and for all those reasons.
For all those reasons.
Yeah, for all those reasons. And it's one thing that to have been in a big fight, but it's a whole nother thing to be in a mega fight.
Yes.
It's definitely different.
Yes.
And Crawford definitely has the edge in that regard.
He has the edge. You know, my years of being an inspector, there were times when fighters entered the dressing room. I had the privilege of seeing their mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I had the privilege of seeing how they made adjustments from going into the dressing room, getting their hands wrapped, getting gloved up, how they warmed up,
Mm-hmm.
and how they presented themselves in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, some fighters are like gladiators. When they step into that ring, there ain't nothing
Mm-hmm.
interfering with what they know they got to do.
Yeah.
And as much as they may get hit and knocked down, they getting up because that's the mindset.
Well, like I tell you, I tell, there's only a couple of fighters in my career that were just, in my opinion, just flat mean.
Yes.
And Terrence Crawford is one of those.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's just flat mean. And when he's the nicest guy you will ever meet outside of the ring.
Yeah.
But when that man steps through those ropes,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's like a metamorphosis.
Yes.
He changes.
Yeah.
And especially if you talk some trash about him, and I know that in the fight with Boots, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
When you get in that ring, you got work to do.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be ready.
Yeah.
Now, the WBO
Mm-hmm.
has been petitioned to allow a fight between Usyk and Dubois. This would be the second fight, be a rematch.
Yes.
Rather than Usyk fighting Joseph Parker,
Yeah.
who was his mandatory. There's a question whether Usyk should fight that mandatory or do the rematch with Dubois.
Yes.
Now, I remember in the first fight, Usyk and Dubois, Dubois dropped him. He knocked him down. And it was a competitive fight. Very competitive fight. It went 8 or 9 rounds, as I recall. So he might not be, too anxious to fight Mr. Dubois the second time around.
When you look at rematches, and when you look at the first fight, and like you said, Dubois got dropped. And,
Usyk got dropped.
I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, Usyk got dropped. Dubois dropped him. Yeah.
But Usyk won the fight.
Absolutely he did.
Okay, my bad. My bad. I thought Dubois got the drop. Usyk got dropped.
Yeah.
Well, Usyk is a tough character.
Yes.
I refereed his fight a few years ago. It was a unification fight. He was undefeated. His fight that he fought was undefeated. And as you know, Usyk, that was at the cruiserweight. And then he goes up to heavyweight and beats Tyson Fury and has been holding his own.
Yeah.
So the whole issue about rematch, there's a lot of factors that go in because first of all, his opponent, Parker, was supposed to be fighting. Well, him and Dubois was supposed to fight each other, and then I believe it was Dubois that got sick, and then they had to cancel the fight. And instead of them rematch or setting a new date to get them then to fight again, now it's Usyk in a rematch. So yeah, what you look at the totality of the picture, and and what's the right thing to do here?
Well, I'm very familiar with Usyk. In fact, I did his fight when he won the cruiserweight title,
Okay.
and I've done him 3 times.
Okay.
And the thing that I know most about him is that technically he is absolutely sound fighter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's very resilient.
Yeah.
Which was reflected in this fight with Dubois, because Dubois dropped him early, but he came back, outboxed him. I think he stopped Dubois 8th or 9th round, somewhere around there. But Usyk he's a tough man to handle.
Yes, he is.
He's a tough man to handle.
Yes, he is.
And this thing with deciding should he fight Dubois or should he not fight Dubois, should he go with the mandatory, that's a whole nother argument.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother argument because, and I think what it does is it leads me into this question of should Usyk fight Dubois or should he do his mandatory? Okay, and some of the things that come into play here is that Dubois won the title, the IBF title, and but when he won the title, it was the interim title, the interim IBF title.
Yes.
And then they were supposed to fight. Yeah. They were supposed to fight, but what happened is that Parker, for whatever reason, it didn't pan out, and because it didn't, or one of them got sick, but because it didn't pan out, Dubois was elevated to become the champion, the real champion, not the interim champion. And that's what this thing was all about. So the question now is, should Usyk fight a rematch with Dubois, or should Usyk be made to fight the mandatory with Parker? Okay? And the question is, which one makes more sense? Because you know how the game is played. So the real question is, which fight is going to be more marketable? Is Usyk fighting Dubois in the second fight? Is that going to be more marketable than him fighting Parker? And I think yes, because Parker has no title. He's a former WBO title, but he doesn't have a title now.
Right.
Usyk has 3 of the titles. Dubois is the IBF guy.
Yes.
So if they fought a second fight, it would be for the undisputed championship. So in terms of marketability, that fight makes more sense than him fighting Parker.
Yeah. Yeah, and there would probably be more interest there as well.
Yeah.
It's just, when you get into and back in the day, they would call it the alphabet soup, the WBO, the WBA, the WBC,
yeah, right,
the IBF. But they all have to do their thing, as opposed to how they sanction fights, how they keep it fair between the champion and who he fights next. Make sure that the champion is just not riding on his belt and not given the opportunity, whoever the number one contender is. If the number one contender isn't available, then the number 2 contender gets the opportunity. So for the most part, if they keep everything the way it fair to the not only the champion, but also the contender, the person that's waiting, then that speaks for itself. Because back in the day, they used to have what is called step down money.
Yeah, step aside.
Yeah,
Step aside money.
Step aside money.
Yeah.
Where if you were supposed to fight the champ next, but they felt that the champ could fight this guy and it would be more lucrative for the champ to fight this guy, then the step aside money would go to the guy that was supposed to fight the champ.
Right.
And he just steps aside and let them fight, and he may get the opportunity to fight either or, depending upon what happens.
Well, and the thing about it is, it's ultimately it's about the money.
It's about the money.
And so if I'm the guy that's next in line, I want a shot at that title.
Right.
But if you say to me, but we're going to give you X amount of dollars over here if you kind of wait before you get this title, I'd be more inclined to wait.
I'd be more inclined to wait too. I'd take that money.
I'd take that money.
Yeah. It makes sense to the fighter, and that's why they have takeaway money, so that you can have that opportunity to not just be sitting home alone and not making what you should be making, because
that's right.
There's a wrench that's been thrown into the works.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. There's been a big issue about women boxing, and for those that don't know, women only fight 2-minute rounds.
Okay.
And shucks, I remember back in the early 90s when the Christy Martins and the
Lucia Riker,
and all of them were coming to fold, and they started them out just fighting 2-minute rounds because of safety reasons, safety issues, and we're talking 30 years now, and the question is, we all saw a few months back Taylor and Serrano, 2 lady fighters that fought their heart out.
Yes, they did.
It was a rematch.
Yeah.
And would the fans want to see a trilogy? We're sure they would.
Yeah. I think it is. I think it's set.
It's set.
I think they're going to fight July.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the question is, and you correct me, but Serrano wants it to be 3-minute rounds as opposed to 2-minute rounds. And I believe the WBC, looking at safety, wants to keep it at 2-minute rounds.
Kenny, I hear that, but to me, that just doesn't sound right. And this is why. When we go to the gym and these young ladies are preparing themselves for a fight or a title fight, in the gyms that I go to, when they're sparring 3-minute rounds and they get a 1-minute rest. Or some of them are fighting 3-minute rounds with a 30-second rest. And in order to prepare for their fights, they're fighting 8, 10, 12, 14 rounds at this. So I understand the WBC's stance is, and what he says is that it's for safety reasons. I find that logic questionable, given that when in their preparation, they do exactly what Serrano is suggesting, for safety reasons. The bottom line is that these women are taking the same risks that the men are when they step through. Yes. And what they're saying, the men have always said, well, they only fight this and they only fight that. And what Serrano's point is, we want to be considered as champions the same as the men. So we want to fight 3-minute rounds when we wanted our fights to be 12-minute rounds. And I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Given that, let me take you back. You probably don't remember, but in 2010, a young lady by the name of Layla McCarter fought a lady named Donna Biggers, and they requested from the Nevada State Athletic Commission that they wanted the fight to be 3-minute rounds, and Nevada Commission said, yes, we will.
Yeah.
And Layla fought that first fight, women, 3-minute rounds. And you know what, Kenny? Yeah. Guess who was the referee? Guess who was the referee for that fight?
You were the referee.
No. You were the referee for that fight.
Yes.
It was held here in Las Vegas. At the Orleans. And they fought 3-minute rounds.
Yeah.
It was approved by it. And you know what? Layla fought many years subsequent to that, and she didn't suffer any noticeable damage. So the argument just doesn't hold water for me.
It doesn't, but when we talk safety, and we can go back in history a little bit, you know as well as I do, and I believe that the rule got changed from 15 rounds to title fights to 12 rounds.
When I started out refereeing, we did 15 rounds. And the referee scored.
And scored.
Yeah.
That has changed. 15 rounds have changed from 15 to 12.
Right.
Glove size has changed.
Yes.
All for the safety. So I understand that, but this issue, I made a phone call and wanted to talk to some ladies about this.
As did I.
The whole purpose was to see how they felt about it. I was not able to get in contact with any ladies, but I did talk to Sparkle Lee. You know Sparkle Lee, she's a referee
in New York.
Yeah. She's in the Women's International Boxing Hall of Fame. And I asked her, and she said, Kenny, as much in my travels, as much as I talk to ladies in the sport of boxing, they prefer 3-minute rounds. They prefer it. But so
and I'm saying that to say that your major rationale for not allowing this is safety, it just doesn't hold water for me.
Yeah. Because
of all of the things that we said, and because it's already been done. The precedent has already been set.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
And there was no ill effects faced about this lady.
Yes.
I contacted a young lady who was the former WBA bantamweight champion, women's bantamweight champion. And I posed that question to her.
Right.
And she said, I'd have no problem at all with fighting 12 3-minute rounds.
Right.
None at all. No. And this was she was the female bantamweight champion.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, again, it just doesn't, the rationale that the WBC is utilizing just doesn't hold a lot of substance for me.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
Yeah, and with women stepping up to 3-minute rounds, it would be, if they're capable of handling it in the gym, which they are, then why would they not be capable of handling it in a professional fight?
Yeah.
On stage.
Yeah. Well, and the other rationale that he says is, well, because it's 2 minutes and the pace is faster and the competition is quicker and harder. And I'm saying, but it's no different than the 3 minutes that they fight in sparring.
Yeah.
And some, like I said, and in some gyms, they're fighting 3-minute rounds with only a 30-second rest period. So it just doesn't hold water for me.
Yeah. Well, when 2-minute rounds, they can give more because it's just 2 minutes. Where if it's 3 minutes, they're going to have to be a little bit more
strategy-wise.
Strategy-wise, because they don't want to burn themselves out in the round.
Right.
So they have to kind of pace themselves a little bit more. It changes it a little bit,
right.
which is a good thing.
Yes. And how is that different from what men do?
Right.
That's exactly what men do. They
Exactly.
pace themselves.
Yes.
Especially in a championship fight.
Yes.
They pace themselves.
Yes, they do.
You know, so again, it just doesn't hold water for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, there's another young man out there who just won a title, Keyshawn Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And the talk is that he's going to make his first defense against a fella that hasn't fought in a while. He's been kind of inactive, Edwin De Los Santos.
De Los Santos.
And so the question is that a bad move for Keyshawn to be fighting this guy who hasn't fought in a while?
Well, to me, it's never a bad move when you have to step through the ropes and fight somebody.
Well, amen to that.
Because you never know what's going to happen. You know as well as I do, you could get hit off balance. Anything can happen.
Yes.
Anything can happen. And you know, back in the day, Byrd, and you know it, they used to refer to fights like that as the guys fighting a cab driver, you know,
and sometimes that was true,
or a tomato can, you know, those kind of remarks would come out, but it happens. I mean, if a fighter trains, him training is the 8 to 5 going to work every day. So if he's training, he deserves to get a payday. He deserves to make some money.
Yeah.
So
I think the argument here is that you just fought and won a world championship. Should you be fighting other world championships and not this guy over here? And I understand that logic, but the bottom line is anyone who follows this sport, every champion does that. Every champion takes a little lighter opponent at some point in their championship fight.
The major 4 boxing organizations have a mandatory that a fighter, if he's a champ, has to fight. And then if he's successful in winning that fight, they'll tell, or at least from my understanding, they'll let them pick a fighter in the top 10.
There you go.
So that this fighter is not fighting hard and heavy fights throughout his career, because all that pounding ain't good for nobody.
Right.
So they give them the opportunity to pick somebody in the top 10. Hopefully somebody in the top 10 is ready to fight him. But if there's no one in the top 10 that's ready to fight him, then then look at the 11th guy, look at the 12th guy, see who's available for him to fight so that he can earn a living in this sport.
But here's the big thing, and you know this as well as I, because you've been in the ring with him, and so have I. On any given night, things can happen. Upsets happen in fights. So to say this guy is you know, he's not, you know, Phi Beta a contender, but if he gets in there and he lands that punch, and we know that happens in fights. So, and every champion that I'm familiar with has done that at some point in their career. They've earned the right to take a lesser opponent at some point in their life. Okay. So I don't see beating the guy up because he's doing that. I think it's smart.
Well, I used to tell people, because this used to happen well, I won't say quite a bit, but people would go, fans would go to the fight, and well, this especially happened back when Mike Tyson was fighting. People were getting to their seats for the main event, and if they were 3 minutes, 4 minutes late, the fight was over.
Yeah.
And they say, gee whiz, I went to the bathroom, and on my way back, the announcer's telling us who won the fight, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and they're going on and on and on. I said, yeah. I said, when did you get to the fight? Yeah. Well, I just got to the fight, just maybe a fight or two before. I said, when you go to a football game, do you go to the football game in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes left in the game? Oh, no, I don't do that. Well, you shouldn't do that when you go to a fight.
Yeah.
Get there when there's four or five fights in front of it.
I get you.
Because that might be the best fight of the night.
Yeah.
And you missed it because you was waiting for the main event.
Yeah. And the bottom line
if you're a fight fan.
You're right. But the bottom line to this Keyshawn Davis thing is he has every right to do that.
Yes.
He has every right to do that. And the other thing that you can't ever forget is that on a given night, one punch can make the difference. And so every time you step in that ring, you face that.
Yeah.
It could happen to you.
It could happen.
You know?
It could happen.
Yeah.
Now, apparently, Byrd, Anthony Joshua has contacted Jake Paul, and apparently have made a challenge to him to fight him next year. Anthony Joshua has contacted Jake Paul and wants to fight him. And when I first heard this, the first thing that went through my mind was, is Anthony Joshua saying that this is his retirement fight? I mean, that was the first thought that I had, because he hasn't looked good in his last few fights. He hasn't, and so yeah.
Well,
is that what he's saying?
I don't know if that's what he's saying, but the question I guess is this really going to be a fight? Okay? Because, in my opinion, and it's my opinion, Paul is getting in the ring and boxing, but I wouldn't call Paul a fighter, if you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
Okay, so I'm saying Joshua, Paul, what this equates to me is that's a little more than an exhibition. Mm-hmm. Okay, really, that to me it's a little more than an exhibition, because Paul, in my opinion, isn't a fighter. Okay, and most of the fights that I have heard that they've been involved in has been with people who have been on the decline, or they were fighting someone in a cross combat sport, MMA. So is that really a competitive fight? It's more, in my opinion, more like an exhibition. However, I will say this. Money is a great motivator.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Money is a great motivator. And these guys, Paul, they have millions of followers. And if you have the opportunity to get in an exhibition match with one of them, you're probably going to make a good amount of money. And so from that standpoint, I have to say, well, you know, it may not be Phi Beta Kappa, but you know what? It's a moneymaker. Okay, and if you're going to be in this game, okay, I tell most fighters, I said, you know, this is what you need to do. Get yourself totally prepared to do the best that you can. Get in, make you some money, and get out of this game with your health intact, your mind intact. You know, if you can do that, then you've done well. And so anybody that can get in there and make that money,
yes,
make the money.
And that's why I said, and I looked at Anthony Joshua. I like Anthony Joshua as a fighter. And but we all know that during his career, one can say that his chin is suspect.
Yeah, we can definitely say that.
Because he's been down. He's been down.
Yes, he has.
And for him to present himself to Jake Paul and ask for a fight like this, it would be, I think, safer for him if it was
someone of Paul's caliber. Yes, I agree.
Yes, as opposed to being a real professional fight, because, like you said, you don't want to get hurt. And if you can go in there and make the money without getting hurt, by all means, do that. And exhibition is an exhibition. There's no win or loss on your record with an exhibition.
Right.
So go in there, suspect your chin, don't have to get wailed on to any degree to hurt you. Wave at the fans, do what you got to do, and get on out and retire, enjoy life.
That's it. And label it what it really is, so that you're not bilking the public, okay? Right. Because the public has a right when they spend their money to get a product.
Yes.
But they should know what that product is that they're putting their money out for.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
That's my take on that.
Yeah.
The game's in a precarious spot right now. Really, boxing is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues with the game. Now, we're in a period, I think, where we're transitioning from, the old guard, the Canelos and the Crawfords and all that. And we're looking at some of these young guys coming up. We've talked about a couple of them that are going to be the newcomers.
Yes.
Okay, the new face of boxing. Yes. And as boxing, like you already talked about, is evolving, okay? And as it evolves, new faces come out. But every now and then it's good to sort of sit back and to think back to who would be your Mount Rushmore of boxers past.
Well, my Mount Rushmore, and I'm kind of a history buff in a sense, because I don't like what has happened in the past in the fight game of those warriors that have been in the ring and have done what they know to do to be forgotten. And we can go all the way back, and we could talk about the first heavyweight champ, which his name was John L. Sullivan. I mean, I'm talking back when it was bare knuckles, and then they wrapped their hands and so on and so on. But when I look at my Mount Rushmore, and when I go back into history, I can start out with saying Jack Johnson. And the reason why I pointed Jack Johnson is because of what, back in that time period, what he had to go through, stepping through the ropes. Every time he stepped through the ropes, he was being bashed from name callers because he was black, and predominantly white fighters fought back in that time period because they didn't let black fighters fight against white fighters.
Right.
So anyway, when Jack Johnson eventually fought Jim Jeffries, which was then considered a fight of the century. And when Jack Johnson beat Jim Jeffries, there was lynchings. And I mean, it was just a bad time period back then.
Okay, but
so
who else is on that mountain?
So then I would look at Joe Louis, because Joe Louis did some great things in his career, and not to belabor on it, but the biggest thing for him was when he beat Max Schmeling. Knocked him out, because back in that time period, Adolf Hitler was talking about the superior race and how Germans and whites were superior and so on and so on. And Joe Louis took him out. And then, I'm talking about fighters that ain't too many people of this boxing fan era even know about, unless they went on YouTube and searched it and looked it up. But then my third Mount Rushmore would be Sugar Ray Robinson. Now I never had the opportunity to see him live or see him back in his day, because I was too young. But when you look at his record, he fought over 200 fights. I think it was 201. And doing his career as he was coming up, shucks, he was like 80 plus and old before his first loss. Fought at 2 different weight classes. I would definitely put with Sugar Ray Robinson on Mount Rushmore. And then after that, it's almost like you can put anybody for me. And I'm not knocking them after that, because I've witnessed them. I witnessed Larry Holmes, who I feel don't get the credit he deserved, because Larry Holmes was on the verge of beating Rocky Marciano's record.
But is he on the mountain? You could put him on that mountain?
Yes, I could possibly put Larry Holmes on that mountain, just like I could possibly would put Sugar Ray Leonard, Mike Tyson. I could put them on the mountain because I experienced Julio Cesar Chavez. There's so many fighters that I've had the privilege of seeing in the ring.
But I'm going to tell you, Jack Johnson, I think I can go with. But you know what? I would move him over and put a guy in there named Sam Langford. Now, people don't know about that. But I'm going to tell you something. Jack Johnson didn't want no parts of Sam Langford. Okay?
Yes.
And Jack Johnson was a hell of a guy.
Yes.
But he didn't want no parts of Sam Langford.
Right.
So Sam is up there on my mountain.
Right.
Now I can go along with Sugar Ray Robinson.
Yep.
You know, because he was a sugar man. Yes, he was.
What about Joe Louis?
Joe Louis, absolutely, because of, again, some of the things that he accomplished, not only in the ring, but outside.
Right.
The political statement that his fight with Schmeling made. Okay? But my last guy was the baddest man of all for me.
Who that?
Henry Armstrong. Henry Armstrong.
Yes.
World champion. And I'm talking about back when there was only 8 champions. Okay? Right. He was the lightweight champion. He was the featherweight champion, I believe, the lightweight champion, and the welterweight champion at the same time.
Right.
He was champion at the same time, 3 weight divisions.
Yeah.
That's my mountain.
I can agree to that. And the other thing for me, which I don't think does the sport justice, is when you talk about a Mount Rushmore, we should also talk about weight classifications of this Mount Rushmore, because we could real easy between the welterweight and middleweight division establish a Mount Rushmore between Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, and Marvin Hagler.
But you know what, Kenny?
That's a Mount Rushmore.
You're absolutely correct. But you know what? And this is for all you folks out there. In future podcasts, what we're going to do for you, we're going to tell you who our Mount Rushmores are for each decade.
Yes.
Because we think that's fair.
And it's deserving of them, the fighters, the warriors,
Yes.
that step through those ropes and do what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in into the official call.
And to stay connected, subscribe to join our official squad below.